Welcome to an E3 2016 weekly knockout special. Stay tuned from everything from Sony's press conference. So Sony's press conference has come to an end, and with it, all of the conferences for E3 have now concluded. If you did miss any of the other E3 conferences, be sure to check out the weekly knockouts for each of the respective conferences. But as of right now, we're going to get into what exactly Sony announced at their conference, starting with God of War. We already knew that Santa Monica Studios was working on a God of War game, and we'd also heard rumours that the new God of War game was going to be sort of a reboot. It was going to draw from Norse mythology, and all these rumours turned out to be correct. The game features revised combat, and Kratos himself also appears to have had an overhaul. He's more emotional than before, he's not just an angry dude, and he's also got a son, so a very different Kratos than we've seen before. And there's dragons as well, so who doesn't love a game with dragons in it? No release date or window for God of War, but fingers crossed we get it sooner rather than later. Next up was Sony Bend, who after 5 years of silence have finally revealed what they're working on, and it's Days Gone. I have to admit, I'm a little disappointed with this announcement. It's not what I was hoping for, but Days Gone is an open-world post-apocalyptic action-adventure game. You're going to star as a bounty hunter named Deacon St. John, who before the apocalypse was a biker, and it appears that the biker gang element is something that's going to play a big part. And at the very end of the conference, we got a live gameplay demo in which there were hundreds and hundreds of zombies on screen being mowed down by a seamless endless supply of bullets. I don't know how many magazines this guy was carrying, probably 50. But my complaints aside, we don't know anything else about the game. Fingers crossed this first look is not indicative of what the final product will be like. But now moving on to something that does have a release date after 9 years of waiting. Yes, Last Guardian. Release date 25th of October 2016. What else do you need? I'm just going to leave it there. Cannot wait to play this game. And speaking of games, I absolutely cannot wait to play Horizon Zero Dawn. Personally, this is the game I'm most anticipating of any of the new releases that we know about. In terms of what we saw at E3, we got a look at several of the game's mechanics, we got a look at crafting. You can actually take control of the robotic creatures and ride them, as had been suggested in the story trailer that we got last week. And there's also dialogue trees, so this is definitely not a quasi-RPG, this is definitely going to be a full-on RPG experience. And I have to point out that as per usual, the score was absolutely fantastic, you're tingling ecstasy. Like I said, I can't wait for this game. You can probably tell how excited I am. Unfortunately, last week we did find out that it's delayed, so it's not coming till the 28th of February in the US, 1st of March in the EU, and even worse for me in the UK, 3rd of March. But enough of my crazy fanboying over Horizon Zero Dawn. Let's move on to Detroit Become Human. So Detroit Become Human was first shown off at Paris Games Week. At the time, all we got was a CGI trailer. A very alluring CGI trailer, but just a CGI trailer. Now at E3 we got our first look at actual gameplay, and of course this is a Quantic Dream game, so gameplay amounts to making choices. In terms of the demo they showed at E3, they showed how a single scenario can play out a multitude of different ways depending on the choices that you make. And also introduced was a new playable character, Connor, with Kara being the only other known playable character at the moment, although we expect the roster will grow. And then, as many of you might have been expecting, perhaps even dreading, we got a showcase of what Sony is intending to do when it comes to VR. In terms of the PlayStation VR headset, we already know that it was going to cost $400 or £349 in the UK, and that was coming in October, although we got an exact date when in October it will be coming the 13th. And although they'd already said this before, they once again reiterated that in the launch of PlayStation VR and the first couple of months afterwards, you can expect over 50 games. One of those games will be Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, which will be fully playable in VR. Resident Evil 7 is actually a game that people have already seen, they've actually already played. It turns out that the PSR VR demo Kitchen took place sometime after the events of Resident Evil 7 in terms of what they showed in the gameplay demo. At the moment, it looks as if Resident Evil is going to try and return more to the series' horror route, but we saw no footage of combat. Being a VR game, it was all in first person, so that raises a couple of questions as well about the game. But the game is actually going to come out relatively soon. It's going to be coming out the 25th of January 2017, and the game will launch on PC and Xbox One. Although in terms of VR, we don't know if the game's going to support other VR platforms other than PlayStation VR. Next up was a PlayStation VR exclusive called Farpoint. Farpoint is a first-person shooter in which the player crash lands on a hostile alien world. The game is going to make use of a new controller that was revealed slightly after the conference ended on the PlayStation blog, which is the PSVR aim controller. PSVR aim controller promises one-to-one precision for virtual shooters. We have no pricing information on the controller, or if Farpoint will be playable without the accessory. Another PSVR exclusive, Star Wars Battlefront X-Wing VR mission. What a title. This is a single mission where you will be piloting an X-Wing. You will be battling it out with Imperial TIE fighters and even a Star Destroyer. The mission will be available for free for all owners of Star Wars Battlefront, but it will also be released as a standalone product. No pricing announced as of yet. And then they went on to announce Batman Arkham VR. So if you thought Rocksteady was done with Batman, as it seems at one point they thought they were, turns out you were wrong. The developers are returning, supposedly one last time, to the Batman universe with Batman Arkham VR. Little is known about the game at the moment, other than it appears Mark Hamill will be returning to voice the Joker, and that it will release this October. And to conclude the VR section of their conference, Sony debuted a demo of Final Fantasy XV in VR. You will only be able to play Final Fantasy XV in VR on PSVR, but you will not be playing as the main protagonist, Noctis. Instead, you will be playing as Prompto. Other than that, details are thin on the ground. So moving away from VR, and next up, Call of Duty Infinite War was on Sony's stage, as you might expect. We got a 7-minute gameplay demo that featured space dogfighting and zero-gravity infantry battles. It's a fairly safe bet that everything we saw, despite being incredibly exciting, is also going to be very scripted. And in addition to having map packs 30 days early on PlayStation 4, it turns out that Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered's campaign will be playable only on PlayStation for the first 30 days after it releases. So Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered is going to be available with the special editions of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and it's going to include 10 multiplayer maps. Those 10 multiplayer maps are all you'll be able to play of Modern Warfare Remastered if you're playing on Xbox One or PC until 30 days after it has released, at which point the campaign will become available. And if you just want to quickly hear my opinion, I think this is a particularly nasty form of exclusivity. Yes, it is coming to Xbox, but you have to question Activision and even Sony for signing a deal such as this. But let's move away from the doom and gloom. An announcement that made a lot of people happy. Crash Bandicoot is returning, although it's not going to be Crash 4. Instead, it's going to be Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and Warped remastered from the ground up for PlayStation 4. We know no details about the Crash Bandicoot remaster. We don't know who's developing it. We saw no footage of the remastered, or even have a release year or window. Crash will also be appearing in Skylanders Imaginators. And following that announcement was the single most impressive entrance anyone has ever had when it comes to E3. Hideo Kojima showed up at E3, and he showed us a brief teaser of his new game, Death Stranding. No details were announced other than what can be gleaned from the trailer. In terms of the trailer, your guess as to what's going on will certainly be better than mine, because I don't have the foggiest. And the big announcement to wrap up the conference. Spider-Man is coming to PlayStation 4 as a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Now, we had previously heard rumours that we would have a Spider-Man game developed by Sucker Punch. Turns out Sucker Punch isn't developing the game, it's actually being developed by Insomniac Games. In terms of the game, we saw a gameplay trailer. It's worth noting that Spider-Man PS4 is a working title, so that will not be the final title of the game. And that's it. That is E3 done in terms of the conferences. Nintendo do have a Treehouse Live event taking place tomorrow, and we will be covering that for you. And of course, all of our E3 coverage is on groundpunch.com. E3 itself is drawing to a close, but even after everyone packs up and leaves, we're still going to have a lot of content for you E3 related. We've got 2 special episodes of the Punchcast, they're both over 2 hours, where you can find out all our thoughts. We break down every game that was announced, every game that we saw. You can have our insight, our thoughts, our feelings, and also let us know what you thought of E3. You can tweet at us at groundpunch. Take care and goodbye.